Hello there everyone. Welcome to the next video in my warrior dungeon videos. So this time our adventures take us to the Sunken Temple of Qarn. This dungeon can be a major frustration for newcomers. It just really depends on your party. If you've got some veterans, it's not a big deal at all. In fact, just one veteran really is all it takes to make this dungeon passable. But the main reason this dungeon is such a pain is because of the first boss and also a certain trash mob, actually. This dungeon actually has trash that can really destroy you if you're not paying attention. But to start off, obviously put yourself in defiance, get that tank stance going, get the juices flowing, and we're going to pull these bats. I've seen a lot of people just pull the bats and just tank them down, go ahead and kill them there and then move on, but I like to pull big, especially when I've got Cassie here. We've also got Rumor. I feel like I should give them shoutouts every time, even though they're in pretty much every one of my videos. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We can just do 2 groups. 2 groups should be plenty. We could probably handle 3, but then again, that would be a lot of work on Cassie, and I don't want to make her work too hard. I want her to still like me after this dungeon. So in this dungeon, we can actually use the beast gauge, finally, right? So I misspoke in the previous dungeon, unfortunately. I apologize for that. Steel Cyclone is not the level 35 skill, but in fact, Inner Beast is the level 35 skill. So I'm going to be showing that off in just a moment. So Inner Beast, let's just use it. As you can see, it's hard to see because of all the numbers being spammed on the screen. I'll go ahead and pull it up here. Inner Beast. You can only use this in Defiance, and what it does is that it absorbs a certain amount of damage you deal as HP, and it also reduces the damage you take for 20 seconds, but that's a very short buff. So I'll be using that throughout this dungeon and in the future. So you'll see this enemy here called the Temple B, and as you can see, someone in the party marked it with a 1. That means you want to kill them ASAP. These Temple Bees, if left alive long enough, will do an attack called Final Sting. And it does a lot of damage, even on your tank. It does like 80% of your HP. So if you have 2 of them in your party, it's an insta-kill, basically. Or not in your party, but if you're fighting 2 of them at once, it's an insta-kill. Even on your tank. So yeah, that is something you really got to watch out for. Got another bee here, but the timer's long enough. I'm going to go ahead and pull them up here. We've got to be in this group as well. So we've got a 1 on that mob, which is good. We need to focus him down first. We have enough time. It's not like you have to rush extremely hard to kill them. You've got maybe 40 seconds before they use their ability. So like even then, we never once saw the actual attack. Now we're moving on to this bee. I'll go ahead and mark it. There we go. And the bee is dead, so now we can move on to these guys. Also, that Qarn Facer that you saw running away over there, if you are able to kill it before it escapes, it actually drops a chest with gear in there. So I guess it's up to your party to decide if you want to focus that enemy down or not, or just let it escape. But here's the first boss, Tyranitar, or a Teratotar, I suppose that's actually how you say that. This boss can really screw you up if you don't pay attention. So this boss is actually easy if you do pay attention though. It's really just paying attention that'll do it in or do it out for you. So the first little bit is really easy. I mean, he only has this conal AoE. It's not until he does his room-wide AoE, which he still hasn't done. Alright, he's gonna spawn in these dung west, which are basically the exact same as the bees, except they have a lot less health. So you can kill them a lot faster. Just go ahead and focus them down when they spawn. Get back to the boss. So here in a moment he's gonna use his AoE. Oh, he's still not using it. Wow, he's actually waiting a long time. He usually uses it for me at like 70%. Mortal Ray, there it is. So in Mortal Ray cast, it's going to put Doom on everyone in the room, and you need to find one of these 3 platforms that's sort of glowing like that, and step on it. And that will remove the Doom debuff. And all you have to do is step on it. You don't have to press anything, you don't have to do anything special, just literally walk onto it. Now, oh, it moved. It's back over here. So it can move mid-cycle, which kind of sucks. There have been times where I'll run all the way across the room to get to a plate just to have it move at the last second, and then I can't even make it to the other one in time. The rumor just died there from Doom. It happens sometimes. That Dung West we actually didn't kill, so it got off Final Sting, and it did 1700 damage to me, which is not a huge portion of my HP. I mean, it is a huge portion, it's over half, but it didn't kill me. So if you only get hit by 1 and there's not like a massive amount of things attacking you, normally you'll be fine. But, I mean, it can go badly, which is why it's best just to kill them quickly. Not much of an inconvenience, really. So now that we actually can use Inner Beast, which costs 50 Beast Gauge, I'm going to be trying to keep up with that as much as possible. Basically, you don't really want your Beast Gauge at 100 most of the time, or at least you want to get it to 100 and then immediately use it, because you don't want to be sitting on 100 for a long time, because that's wasting DPS basically that you could be doing, or wasting efficiency. I'm going to go ahead and, there's a B in here, so we're going to want to focus down that B, of course. Go ahead and mark it. So here is an actual trash mob mechanic again for this dungeon, with these stone heads, Vortapoi? I have no freaking idea. Those are hard to say. But basically the way these work is, you see the little platform on the ground right there, the little button that we used in the first boss? You want to position them so that they're standing on top of it, and then you want to kill them. There you go. Now you have 2 of them over here. They don't do almost any damage, so I'm just going to let a DPS take the other one. Or not, they're just going to bring it over here. That's kind of dumb. And yeah, see, they didn't even hit it on the platform. Sometimes it does that, like sometimes your DPS just aren't paying attention. Which is fine, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's a bit of a time waster, but it's not a big deal. So we'll grab this guy, bring him over here. A little further. There we go. And that's done. Now you just pull the enemies. There's 2 in here and 3 in the other. I'm just going to pull them and run, because you see that stone platform, that stone thing back there, the Fruit of Knowledge? Someone in your party needs to grab that. We'll need that later on in the dungeon. Then we'll pull the 3 in here. And have someone in your party get the Flame of Magic. We'll need that as well later on in the dungeon. So sometimes in the lower level dungeons, I know I just said that I'm going to be trying to utilize Beast Gauge and not waste it. But sometimes in these lower level dungeons, it's not all that useful. Like, using Inner Beast at this level does almost nothing. So it's really not worth using most of the time, but I will try and work it in whenever I can. Like I said, Steel Cyclone is really the one you're going to be wanting, and we'll get that at, I believe, level 40. Oh, it's 45, never mind. It's still a couple dungeons away. Unchained is nice, I'll go over that in the next dungeon, which is where we should be able to use that. So I don't remember if I mentioned at the start of the dungeon, but this dungeon is actually the level 35 dungeon. This is an optional dungeon. This is not tied to MSQ, at least not originally. At some point in the MSQ, it does ask you to do this dungeon, but it's not around the level 35 area. It's actually a level 50 quest. So here's the Qarn Facer. He returns. So you have yet another opportunity to kill him. As you can see, he actually spawned with partial health. He was not at full health. So if your party wants, this is the perfect time to try and kill him. And it looks like our party will succeed. So as you can see, he dropped a chest there. We'll open that in a second. Looks like another party member actually opened it for me. So yeah, that's how that works. If you don't kill them, you just won't get the chest. That's literally all there is. Nothing major. So we'll pull these two guys. Or three guys, rather. I can't count. Somehow I don't have aggro on that third one, even though I definitely hit him with overpower. Alright, so as you can see, there's an enemy there called the Condemned. He's going to join our group in a second. Just by venturing over here. Go ahead and get his attention. So if you're coming through this dungeon during your first time, you'll probably have a Grand Company log, if you have the rank 2 log, I should say, to kill these wall crawlers. Or the Condemned, I apologize, the Condemned, the little ghost looking things. You'll need to kill a few of those, and most of them are located in the wings of this little room. So like right here, and over here, you can find some of those enemies. But in the central part of the room, all you're going to find are these wall crawlers. And they're dead. Now we're going to move on to the second boss, Temple Guardian. So as you can see right off the bat, this guy has a thing attached to him, the Golem Soulstone. This is actually a very interesting fight, in the sense that you actually don't damage the boss most of the time. I'm going to attack the boss just a little bit, just to make sure I have aggro on him. But the Golem Soulstone is what you want to be attacking. Someone even marked it for us there. I keep forgetting I don't have Storm's Path yet. That's a little later. So once you take the Soulstone down, it's going to stun the actual Golem itself, and that is when you want to do damage to him. He can't hurt you during this phase. So this is where you should go all out. Use all of your DPS abilities on him. I'm getting lucky in getting those critical and directs like pretty often. So usually most parties are able to get him down to about 50%. We got to 55%. Once he's back up, you want to go back to the Soulstone. So depending on your DPS, this usually takes it usually takes 3 cycles. You can 2 cycle it. Just depends on your DPS. And you can see him running around attacking other party members. That's normal. He's going to do that no matter what you have on the aggro table. And if you're paying attention to my enemy list, you can actually see I had aggro the entire time. So as you can see there, I just told them to LB on this phase. Should give us enough damage to 2-phase it. We should have the LB back up before the third boss anyways. He came up right before. Well, when he's at 2%, you can still damage him even without taking down the Soulstone. You just can't do significant damage. He has like a really big defense debuff. Or buff rather, not a debuff. But if he's that close, you can still do enough damage to take him down, so it's just faster to kill him at that point. So that's what we did. These guys are a little difficult to gain aggro on. Got them all. I'm going to go ahead and run them up this way. Most groups just go ahead and take them out down there. But I'm going to run them up here to these two guys, and I'll stop there. So we're actually finished with the bees. We're not going to find any more bees in this dungeon. And honestly, the third boss is pretty simple. It's basically just dodging a bunch of attacks. There's one mechanic you can just completely skip. It's not all that important. So actually, once we bring this group down to 2 enemies, which we're about to do, I'm just going to go ahead and move over here and start this pull. Get aggro on these guys. Alright, we got another one of these stone heads. We got to bring him over to this little button here. Can be a little difficult. There he is. Now we just kill him right here. And he'll push the button down. Do a little more damage to this guy, and then I'm going to run up here. Since we have range classes, they should be able to finish him off. Yep. Alright. Temple Croc, another one of these stone heads. As you can see, they really like putting the stone head mechanisms down for security. Open all these doors. And that one's done. That should be the last one in the dungeon. And here is the final trash pull. There's actually two little groups here. So that little mechanism there is called the Scales of Judgment. Basically what you want to do is you want to... Oh, I died. Well, okay. That happened. Good thing I saved a damage buff there. Get on over here. Okay, well, I don't know why that happened, but it did, so let's just move on. That thing there in the middle is called the Scales of Judgment. Those two stone plates that we got earlier in the dungeon come into place here. You have to put them down on those stone pedestals in front in a certain order. And the flame goes first, and then the fruit goes second. Flame on the left, fruit on the right. So an easy way that I use to remember it is flaming fruit. I just say the flaming fruit because it just makes sense to me. Cassie has her own way of thinking about it. She's told me in the past. Yeah, you just come over here. Left pan, you want the flame. On the right pan, you want the fruit. And then you just interact with the middle. And that will open these doors. And it also opens those doors, and there's 3 treasure coffers down here. Normally, you wouldn't want to open these unless you want gear. Like, since I'm overleveled, I don't care about gear, but this chest here... Oh, it's not that chest, I apologize. One of these chests drops something that we can use. Or at least it has a chance to drop something we can use. It looks like it didn't drop them, unfortunately. There's something called Belladian Glass they can drop from those dungeons, and that's used in some housing item crafts. Oops, that is not the right bar. We do not want to turn off Defiance. Don't do that. The only time you want to turn off Defiance is if you're turning on Deliverance, and we can't even do that yet because that's a level 52 ability. So it's still going to be a bit. So here's the Adjudicator. He's going to spawn these Sun Jurors, and all you want to do is have a DPS take them to the plates as they light up, basically, and kill them on the plates. There are 3 plates. I believe 2 heads will spawn, because normally our DPS are high enough that it doesn't spawn a 3rd. And then you'll have these Mithril Verge type of ads that'll spawn and do straight line AoEs across the room. You can kill them, but you don't have to. You can easily dodge the AoEs, so I generally just completely ignore them. And then you'll see this big, like, shadowy looking square on the ground. You're going to want to stand outside of that. If you're inside the AoE, that Creeping Darkness attack that he just did won't hurt you. But everyone in the party has to move into that square. And it's only 200, like I only took 200 damage, everyone else took like 300. The healer can extremely easily heal that off of you, so there's not one single reason why you need to run inside that square. So I just completely ignore that mechanic. But besides that, it looks like we only got 1 stone head, so we actually have really good DPS, apparently. I don't know why they're killing those things. They could just be focusing on the boss. But it is what it is. Boss is dead. And that's it. That's the end of the dungeon. So this dungeon does have a few little gimmicks to it. You know, like the bees and the doom mechanic on the first boss. So it's got its gimmicks, but they're not anything too complicated. If you have no idea what you're doing, it could potentially be complicated, but fortunately it worked out alright. So yeah, that's a wrap on the Sunken Temple of Qarn, and in the next video we're going to cover Cutter's Cry, which is quite the dungeon. It's got some interesting bosses, and actually a boss that you should really pay attention to because you'll see it recur in later forms in this game quite a lot. But I'll get to that when we get there. But for this video, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.